Quick disclaimer, this video is going to contain spoilers for the One Piece manga, so proceed with caution. So about the Straw Hats, we are nearly finished with the war in Wano, at least in the manga, and the anime think they're only now really starting to ramp up, but manga wise we are nearly done basically. All the Toby Rope and most of the other underlings have been taken out, all that's really left are the main fights. Luffy is of course fighting Kaido one-on-one, and then there's Law and Kaido are fighting Big Mom with their awakened abilities, and Zoro and Sanji are dealing with King and Queen. We still might have some other stuff to deal with afterwards with CP0, but as far as the actual war goes, it is pretty much over. I won't try to pretend, because I think we are all aware how this is going to end. All the guys on the opposing side are going to end up being taken down. That much is pretty obvious. It's what's afterwards that I'm curious about, specifically with the Straw Hats bounties, because taking down 2 emperors is a pretty big deal. So I wanted to discuss the Straw Hats bounties today, and my predictions on what they will end up being after the war. Before that though, remember to like and subscribe for future content. First I want to start off with Luffy, as this will be the easiest to predict. He's taking on the Emperor solo, and is really the person doing the most in this war, so he is easily going to have the biggest bounty boost out of anyone. And seeing how he is taking on Kaido, who is a person with a 4.6 billion berry bounty, I think it's fair to assume that Luffy's bounty is going to be around that ballpark. In my last video, I talked about how Luffy's bounty would be at least 3 billion, but that was honestly a low ball on my part. I think the most likely is to be 4 billion give or take. He would have legitimately taken down the Emperor on his own, one of the immovable pillars in the world. So 4 billion for Luffy is pretty fair in my opinion. Next up though is Zoro. Zoro is a little more tricky to estimate, since we do not know King's bounty yet. We can't use that to go off of. But seeing the jump between Jack and Queen's bounty, I think he's at 2 billion or just under it. And Zoro fought Kaido too at the start. It was not for that long, but he did end up fighting and even scarring him. So 2 billion I think is a decently fair bounty for Zoro. Moving on to Sanji, his is pretty easy to assume honestly. Seeing how Sanji and Zoro always had that gag about whose bounty is higher, more than likely the tradition will continue on here. I imagine Sanji's bounty will be lower than Zoro's, but not by that much. Around 100 million or so. He has done his own fair share of fighting too. He's fighting Queen right now, and also dealt with some of the Toby Roppo. So maybe 1.6 to 1.8 billion bounty for Sanji. Moving on to Robin. Robin is the one I'm most excited to see, because she is finally getting recognized by the world government again. And with how much of a threat she is to them, her bounty should skyrocket. Realistically, I think her bounty should be even higher than Zoro's, but I doubt that will actually happen. If they were, they would have already done it. But I think for Robin, her bounty would be at least 1 billion. I think she deserves more, but I'm trying to be realistic on what she will end up getting. It's still a huge jump, but I think Robin still deserves more. But yeah, moving on to Jimbei. Jimbei will also probably be in the 1 billion range. He beat Who's Who, and he had a pretty decent bounty on his head, but mostly for the fact that he joined the Straw Hats. He was already a threat when he was just running his own crew, but now that he's joining the Straw Hats, he will probably be seen as a bigger threat merging into this bigger crew. So 1 billion or around there is probably what he will get, basically the same as Robin. Next though is Usopp. Usopp hasn't really done that many notable things in the war now that I think about it. He had that fight with Big Mom at the start with Chopper, but that's pretty much it. His bounty was brought up to 200 million at Dressrosa because of the God Usopp thing, but since he didn't do that much stuff, I do not see it going that much higher. Honestly, 300 or less for Usopp, just because the rest of the crew's bounties are spiking, so they might feel inclined in raising his too. For Brook though, he might actually get a substantial raise in bounty, because right now he's with Robin dealing with CP0, and if he manages to get away, which I'm assuming he does, he will probably leave an impression on them, and they're watching them from snails and stuff, so they might have seen him done some fighting too. So for Brook, I think he will rise to Usopp's or a little more. The mask guys of CP0 are supposed to be in their own league, so for him to escape them is not something anyone could do. But yeah, next up is Chopper. These bounty updates have me feel bad for Chopper every time, because he actually does do a lot of stuff most of the time, but somehow the Marines or whoever makes the bounties ends up missing them, and his bounty gets raised out of pity basically. So for the sake of the gag continuing, Chopper's bounty will probably go up to only like 1,000 or something like that. Frankie though will probably get a pretty good raise. He beats Sasaki, so for that alone his bounty should go up pretty high. I would say 400 million or a little more. He didn't do much besides that, but beating a Toby Robo by itself is still a lot. Finally, Nami's bounty. For Nami's, I'm not too sure of, because she had definitely done a decent amount of stuff. She got back Zeus and fought Big Mom with the others for a little bit, but we do not know how much the world government actually saw. They don't know every little detail about the war, so just to be safe, I think Nami will only go to a little above 100 million. Not too much, but also not a little amount. But yeah, that's pretty much what I think the Straw Hats bounties will look like after Wano, more or less. There might be some adjusting needed to here and there, but I feel pretty confident about it. If you think there are some that should be changed, you can let me know in the comments below. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe for future content. Peace.